guys, today I'm going to be doing a video on contouring my nose. I know this is something that's really popular right now. It's something that I recently started doing within the last couple of months. And I think that nose contouring is really cool because if you get good at it, you can get really good at kind of changing the way the shape of your nose looks. And in my case, I don't really have, I don't contour my nose on a daily basis. I'll usually do it if I have a special event or if I have extra time to get ready, I'll do it. But it's not something I do on a regular basis because I don't really feel like I need to contour my nose. I don't really think anybody needs to, but some people just like the way that it looks. So I'm just going to show you guys how I do mine today. I like to contour the sides to make it look a little bit slimmer, and then I also do some shading on the top to make it look like a little bit more of like a button nose, which I really love. So let's get started. So this is before. Obviously I have nothing on my nose. I have makeup on, but I don't have anything on my nose. So what I usually start with is I'll take a thin brush like this. It's good if it's angled because it just places the product better, and it's just like more precise. And then I'm also taking my Lorac Pro Palette, and I'm using the color Taupe in here. It's like a very, it's like a beige, but it's not too dark. It's just dark enough to kind of create like a shadow. That one. As you can see, I've used a lot of it. So what I usually start doing is I will just dip the brush in just a little bit. You don't need a lot on here because if you use a lot, then you're going to see a huge line on your nose and you don't want that. So I start up here, right near the inner corner of my eyebrow, and then I'll just go down probably to like about here. So I'm just going to do it in a mirror over here on the side, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like after. Now, depending on how thin you want to make your nose look, that's going to determine how far or close you put the lines on your nose. So if you want your nose to look really pinched and really thin, then you would draw two vertical lines like really, really close. You would draw them like almost that close to each other. And then if you want it not as thin or you don't want that pinched look, then you could do it, you would do them like a little bit further apart. And I'm just going to zoom in a little bit more so you can see exactly what I'm doing. So as you can see, I've got two brown lines going down the center of my nose. Obviously, right now it looks ridiculous, but we're going to fix it. And right now we're just doing the shaping, or like the lines, or whatever you want to call it. But right now I'm just shading the lines down, and then we'll be blending everything later. So just bear with me while I look like... Okay, and then once you have the lines that you want down the center of your nose, what I usually do is, just to create more of that button nose look, what I'll do is I'll do some shading underneath my nose and then across the top of the bridge as well. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. And just a tip, so anything that you want to recede, you would do a darker color, or like a taupey or like a bronze color. So anything that you want to kind of hide, that's what you would use. And then anything that you want to make more prominent, you would use a lighter color. So that's what the highlighter is for. We'll get to that next. And I pretty much just do like kind of like a ball, like a circle shape all the way around the front of my nose. Don't mind my mirror coming up. Okay, so once you have the lines done, you're going to look a little ridiculous, but that's okay. So this is what it's going to look like if you're going for the same look that I'm going for. And then after this, pretty much what you're going to do for a while now is just blend everything out. So what I like to do is take a Q-tip and just blend away. Takes a little while. And you should be careful when you're blending not to kind of go like in circles. Just try to stay on the same line that you're trying to blend out, because if you don't stay on that same line, then it's gonna smear out and then you're not gonna have like that clean line creating the shadow that you want. So just be careful when you're blending it out not to mess the lines up that you've created. And you go all the way up. I like to go all the way up towards the brow and then just kind of take the line, like just kind of like drag the shadow into kind of like the crease of your eyelid, just because it looks, I think it looks the most natural that way. So you can kind of see, obviously I still have a little bit more blending to do on this side, but you can see how it's starting to blend out and starting to look a little bit more natural compared to the other side, which I haven't even started on yet, so.
Don't worry if you look like a total freak while you're in the middle of it. It'll turn out great.
Okay, so once you've kind of blended the lines in a little bit, we still have a lot more blending to do because you can still see the lines on my nose, so that's not okay. But once you've started the blending process, what I usually do is I will take my RCMA powder, which I love so much, and what I'll usually do is just take a little, I usually use a beauty blender for this, but I don't have one with me right now, so I'm going to just use a brush that I have. So I'll just take some of the powder and just take like a little brush. It really doesn't matter what kind of brush you use. The only reason I'm using this powder is to kind of create a cleaner line from the two lines that I drew out to like the sides of my nose. So that's what I use the white powder for, just to make this more prominent. So I just take a brush like this. I mean, you can really use any brush, but I'm just taking a brush like this. And I'm just putting a little bit of powder right on the outsides of the lines that I did, right next to the lines on the outside, and just like patting it, just patting it in. So you can already see that it kind of makes my nose look a little bit more pinched when you do that. And I'm not going to leave that like that. I'm just going to let it sit for a little while. So you would do that to both sides. And like I said, I usually use a beauty blender for this because it just gives you more control over where you put the powder. But I don't have a blender with me right now, so I'm just using this brush. So. And it's good to kind of just like pat it into your nose. You don't have to like swipe it. So, alright. So you can kind of see it looks a little bit more pinched now just by doing that. And then after that, I'm going to take one of my Morphe brushes. This is just a little fan brush, and I'm just going to kind of like go over the lines that I put in just very lightly. it's almost kind of like you're wiping away like kind of the excess a little bit, but you're not really touching the lines that much. Okay. So after that, I'm going to take my mary-loumnizer highlighter. And this stuff is great because it's got like it's not like a white highlighter, but it's like kind of yellowish almost. And I just love this highlighter. This is probably my favorite highlighter for contouring my nose. So I'm going to take another clean Q-tip and I'm just going to dip it in the highlighter a little bit just so that you have like that much on the Q-tip. And then my favorite part, what I always do is I will do kind of like a half circle right under that brown line that we did. I'll do like a half circle, like an upside down U on my nose. And what that does is, because the highlighter is glittery and, you know, light in color, what it does is it makes you look like you have a button nose, and it makes your nose kind of look a little bit more upturned and a little bit shorter, which I just love. So that's what I'm going to do. And I kind of feel like you can never use like too much of this stuff because it does wear off anyway, so I usually just put like a lot on. So you can either do that, or some girls like to just do like a dot, like just like a little dot like right in the middle of their nose. That if you do that, that's going to make your nose look a little bit pointier and probably a little bit more pinched, and I think that that looks nice too, but I just prefer this better. Okay, and then sometimes I just like to go in with my pinky and just kind of up and down, just kind of like blend it really, really well underneath and then on the side. You really, really want to make sure that everything's blended out, because if you do your makeup in a certain lighting and then you do your nose contour, if you go out into the daylight and you don't blend enough, they're going to be completely visible, all the lines on your nose, and it's going to look ridiculous. So just make sure that you blend really well. And then once you feel like you have everything blended in, what I would do is just take this brush again and just dip it in like the RCMA powder or any kind of setting powder that you want, just very, very, very lightly, and just kind of put it over like the lines that you made, just so that whatever. I always do that. Okay, so then now I'm just going to zoom out so you can see what it looks like once it's done. So you can see that my nose looks a little bit thinner, and you can see how it looks. I'm actually just going to put a little bit more highlighter here because I feel like I need more. And I'm going to do a little bit more of the brown on top. Okay, so you can see that my nose looks a little bit more pinched and a little bit more like a button nose, which I really, really like I said. And what I will do at the end is just take a little bit of Model in a Bottle setting spray and just spray. Usually I spray all over my face, but I'll just do my nose for right now. And that is it. That's how you contour your nose, and I hope this video helped you guys, and if you have any questions or suggestions, please leave them below. And I'll see you next time.